And we are back, dear viewers, with our interesting guests. So we're going to be talking about diabetes, which is one of the most common diseases in the world and is called the silent killer due to its many hidden negative effects on the body. High blood sugar has more complications than diabetes, as it opens the way for many other diseases. For more details, dear viewers, about diabetes, its types, and its latest statistics, we are pleased to have with us today Dr. Amna Shaghouli, an MD, FRCPC consultant, endocrinologist. Good morning.
Good morning to everybody. Good morning, Kuwait.
It's such a pleasure to have you on with us.
Thank you. Same
Kuwait.
here.
So we'd love to know, what are the age groups that are at most risk of developing diabetes?
All right. So generally, we used to see type 2 diabetes over the age of 40, but recently, type 2 diabetes has been seen in a younger population, like teenager, even in children.
Yes.
Regarding type 1 diabetes, it's actually used to be, it's the opposite that we see it in children, but in modern days that we see a lot of autoimmune disease because type 1 diabetes is one of the autoimmune diseases. So we see them as well in older population above the age of 30 and 40, which we didn't used to see them before.
All right, doctor. So talking about diabetes, would you simplify what the word diabetes means?
Right. So diabetes, it's basically, if you look at the factor that cause diabetes and to understand it, basically have increased your blood sugar to the level that your body cannot handle it, cannot use it, cannot burn it, to produce basically energy for your brain to function, for your body to function. And this circulating high blood sugar is going to be in your system that's going to be toxic to most of your system, your body, to your brains, to your gut, to your kidneys, that in the long term, you will end up with complication and problems because of this high blood sugar that you cannot utilize in a normal people that can utilize by a good pancreas and a muscle mass as well.
All right. So Dr. Amna, since we're in Kuwait here, everybody loves to drink tea with sugar or coffee with sugar.
Right.
So how much would you recommend somebody would add sugar cubes to his tea in a day, for example?
Right. In general, it's not about only sugar. A lot of people that have misconception about, blood sugar, only the sugars. When we talk about, blood sugar, it's about carbs, all the carbs, including your breads, pastas, dairy, as well as a lot of things that increase your blood sugars. Obviously, everywhere people drink a lot of tea with sugars. There's no specific recommendation, but I would say that 1 cube, or if you can drink your tea without sugar, even better. Okay. I learned that from the British system when I was studying there when I was 18. They drink their tea without sugar. It's about how do you train your taste buds. Okay. And it takes about 20 days to train your taste buds to basically how much sugar that you will enjoy. Right. And now these days, if you train them without having sugars, if you end up taking a tea with the sugar, it's going to be very awful. So it's really depend. The less amount of sugar that you consume, refined sugar, we say, the better.
Yes, so that refined sugar, you're talking about stevia, for example?
Stevia, they are sort of, they are different. They are sort of sweeteners. And even though these days, there's a lot of studies about sweeteners that they should not be consumed because in the long term, they can cause a lot of dependency and are not the sort of the ideal things that we advise some people who are used to refined sugar and the taste that they may reduce it by stevia, but in the long term, I don't advise it. It's better for me if people want to go for a sweet something with their tea, like dates. Dates, they are sugar, but the dates that have low glycemic index. What I mean by glycemic index, the way it raises your blood sugar is very slowly. Refined sugar, when you take it, your blood sugar spikes in your blood. However, the dates, because they are more low glycemic, the blood sugar raise very slowly in your system and sort of more because they have fiber, have potassium, have so on. So it's more natural. And the more natural you go in food, I think the better effect that has on your body as well.
All right, that's great to know. So since we are in Kuwait, we'd love to know the statistics here in Kuwait about diabetes.
Right.
What about that?
Unfortunately, we are one of the highest countries with the diabetes, where we have 24%. And so 1 in 4, we have people affected with diabetes. And that's really unfortunate. And the problem is due because of the rate and the pre-diabetes. Sorry, we didn't talk about pre-diabetes. Pre-diabetes, where you have the stage before you actually have diabetes. So there's a certain number to diagnose diabetes, about the HbA1c, we call it 6.5%, which is the average blood sugar that you have over the last 3 months. And before that, it could be have many years of pre-diabetes, and the prevalence of that in Kuwait about from 15 to 20%. And all of that, unfortunately, because of obesity that we have and overweight we have in obesity in Gulf region, and we are one of the leaders, and specifically with children. About 70% of our population are overweight, and about 40 to 45% of our population are obese. And we say overweight and obese, again, just to clarify it for the people, we talk about the BMI, body mass index, where you divide your weight by kg by your height squared. And if you have a number less than 25, it's normal. Above 25 to 30 is overweight. Above 30 is obese.
Yes, definitely, Dr. Amna. Here in Kuwait, we have a lot of people with diabetes due to their modern lifestyles here in Kuwait. You know, now children are more chilling on the computers, eating while seated. They have to change this lifestyle.
Yes. Unfortunately, I think we are way beyond that. You know, it's the total culture is different. Our houses are different. Well, building used to have, you know, a backyard or a middle yard that where we play. More fast food, less activity, as you said, more screen times on tablets. And even before that, when we have to go back when a woman gets pregnant. Before that, because all your epigenetics is going to be formed while your mother is pregnant. So the mother as well have to be careful on how much weight she have before she get pregnant, because overweight, or if you gain a lot of weight during pregnancy, that's going to prone your kids to have obesity later, as well as type 2 diabetes. And in addition that, you know, I think the responsibility with the risk that we have these days about children being obese and type 2 diabetes, these days we see it with the children, which we didn't have it to see it before, 7, 6, even fatty liver disease. And the problem with obesity, with fatty liver disease and type 2 diabetes, we've been seeing them in children, 7 to 8 years old, and all of that because of excess weight. And the families are, I think, they're responsible because they have to encourage their kids to eat healthy, to eat less, you know, fast food, to move more, activities. You have to join them in activities since childhood. You cannot ask somebody who's grown up and they, you know, to do the activities. And you cannot ask your kids to do activities if you don't believe in exercise as well. As a parent, you have to be active. You have to do some exercise so your kids as well you can be a model for them. The same way when you say that somebody who smokes, ask the children not to smoke. It's the same thing, the same concept. So we have to encourage them to do activities and be active, to be honest. And in Kuwait, we have a lot of indoors. You know, all the people, when you talk to them, they say the weather is very hot, or, you know, they can't do it. We have a lot of gyms, we have a lot of indoors, you know, malls for walking. And I think a lot can be done, but I think we have a lot of excuses at the end of the day.
Yes, doctor, as you said, it is so important for parents to influence their children to practice exercising, especially here in Kuwait, since you said the weather is hot, but I believe I love the hot weather. I just go to the beach a lot.
Yes.
So, dear viewers, it's so important to practice. If you're eating a lot of food, make sure you burn that food. So, doctor, we'd love to ask you also, what are the latest treatments of diagnosis here in Kuwait related to diabetes?
Right. So it's very important in what is revolutionary happened about type 2 diabetes. We used to say that type 2 diabetes is inherited. No matter what you do, as you grow up, you're going to have, it's a must that you have type 2 diabetes. But I think for the last 15 years, from what we saw by the, you know, surgeries of, you know, bypass and sleeve bariatric surgery that reduced the weight, in addition to the most recent medication that we use, what we call them the family of GLP-1 that affect your satiety. You feel more full and you don't eat and lose weight. Now these days we are working.
Sorry, is that the thing you said, you're talking about Mounjaro and...
It's the Ozempic and Mounjaro, yes,
Okay.
because they are a family GLP-1 that mainly works on your central satiety, where you block your appetite centrally by 90%. That's the function of these medication. Like even from before we had Victoza, we had Saxenda, we had as well Trulicity, Bidurian, name it. It's Wegovy, which is not available in Kuwait. So we have a lot of these medications. What's really we were saying for the last 15 years that we can actually reverse type 2 diabetes. And I do believe, one of the doctors who believes that 99% of type 2 diabetes, it's not inherited. It's basically, it's what you do in terms of physical activity, what you do in terms of what you're eating. And if you lose weight, and that's what the study has been showing, and even a lot of my research talk about, if you lose a certain amount of your body fat percentage, you're going to be able to lose, to reverse diabetes. You don't have the diagnosis. Because in my clinic, I submitted the research where people, they were in insulin, about 4 injections per day of insulin, up to 120 units of insulin per day, of 25 years of diabetes diagnosis. We were able to stop them completely from insulin. And if we say that type 2 diabetic is inevitable, which the pancreas stopped working, you cannot stop insulin because they wouldn't improve the blood sugar. It seems to be the fat which is accumulated in these people's organs, on the pancreas, on the liver, on your heart. They dysfunction these organs, and they're not allowing them to breathe enough and to work enough. Once you basically deload these organs from these fat, these functions seems to be able to function at least, I think, 50 to 60, 70% better than what they were before that. For these medications are excellent. They are really good. They've been here in Kuwait since 2010. And I've been using them for the last 15 years. They're quite good, and I think this is one of the things that really helped a lot of people because, you know, with diabetes and obesity, fatty liver disease, I mentioned, is one of the biggest problems that we have for liver failure. It used to be alcohol and hepatitis, infection of the liver, but now it's the common, it's obesity, food, and sedentary lifestyle.
All right, doctor. So since you mentioned food, we'd love to know, for us and our dear viewers, what kind of food would you pursue if you go to the supermarket and see all the labels? What should you avoid?
Right. So we have to be careful what's on the label. In terms when they tell you that this is for the diet or this food doesn't have sugar. You have to know when you take a biscuit without the sugar, the biscuit itself, it's a carbohydrate, it's sugar. And those products, what they do, on the other hand, because they don't add sugar or added flavors, they become more worse with the saturated fat. So you have to be careful about reading the label about the saturating and unsaturating fats, how much carbs does it have, carbs per serving, because sometimes they fool you, and they just put the amount of per serving, like for 2 or 3 biscuits. It's not the whole box, and you would think that this is the amount of calorie is for the whole thing. So you have to be careful and smart. You have to look for a lot of preservatives. You know, we have a lot of issues with preservatives these days and dyes, especially with the kids. You know, red dye, there was a big thing about it in the media that causes cancer and problem for the kids, and you have to be careful. A lot of these preservatives, unfortunately, affect your hormones as well, and can affect our girls and kids these days to have problem with their puberty and development as well.
All right, doctor. So since we are in the diabetes and we're talking about children mostly, how can they boost their immunity in their daily life? Is it physical activity or is it just maintaining a healthy lifestyle?
Right. So in terms of improving immunity, as you said, physical activity is one of the things. And what you need to know that even the food is very important. The food, you cannot, there's a saying that you cannot burn out a bad diet. You cannot eat junk food, then you say, I'm going to go and exercise, burn it out. Once the junk food goes into your body, it causes inflammation. And different kind of inflammation that exercise, no matter what you do, it's going to burn the calories maybe, but it does not reduce your inflammation that's caused by this amount of junk food. So it has to be a combination of, as you said, a healthy lifestyle, good eating, natural eating, avoiding fast food, activity. You know, the activity should be a combination of strength activity as well as a cardio. It shouldn't, you know, a lot of people are frightened for the kids to go for the strength and activity. It's the opposite. They should go for it, and they should be stronger for mobility, for functionality, in addition to eating healthy as much as you can. And I mean healthy as much as I can because deliveries and all these medias and all these available sources in Kuwait, it's very tempting. And all these restaurants, it's very tempting. It's a lot of pressure. Even the gathering as well that we have, everything is based on food. So you have to be douani as well, and so on. It's the less go on in Kuwait. I think the fun that they have in Kuwait, it's eating. I think that's the most thing that they love. You know, and people come from outside, from the Gulf area, to eat in Kuwait as well. We are now well known for good food in Kuwait. But I think you have to be careful what good food is mean at the end of the day.
Definitely, Doctor. Alhamdulillah, mashallah, here the food in Kuwait, it's you can't deny that, Doctor. The food's great. So since I have friends and families that use these kind of treatments, like you said, Mounjaro or Ozempic, and they are trying to eat as minimum as they can. So in the plate that they have to have per serving, what do you advise? Is it more vegetables, a little fat, a little protein? And for example, if you're saying carbs, should it be a small pot of rice, or how much carbs should we intake?
Okay, so that's a great question. The reason we take these medication not to eat, the reason we take this medication to control our portion of eating. At the end of the day, you know, the basics are basics. You have to eat healthy, which means you have a protein. And as we grow up, because we lose muscles, we really have to be careful how much protein that we eat. Especially women as well, you know, perimenopause, postmenopausal, we lose a lot of muscles. We have less estrogen in our body. So we tend to lose muscle more and gain fat more. So as you grow up after the age of 40, even for the kids, but you know, it's mandatory to have a good amount of protein in your food. And a lot of people, they don't know what's protein, like fish, you know, chicken and meat, legumes and all that stuff. You have to have a good amount of protein. You have to have your vegetables. You can have your dairy products, and you can have your carbs. It's a good carbs. If you talk about the carbs, rice or whatever, like a black, it's better than brown. Brown is better than white. And at the end of the day, it's a portion. And the common mistake that people do with these medication, they think the least they eat, the better they're going to do. No, because you're going to end up with a low muscle mass, with sarcopenia. You need the people who take these medications to be functionally strong people. You don't give a medication to make people sick. You give medication to make people stronger by losing fat, and you have to measure, you know, and encourage people to do their exercise, weightlifting, resistance exercise 3 times per week, high protein diet, a good amount of portion. I cannot really define how much rice they should take, because a person with a weight of 180 kg is different than a person with a weight of 100 kg. So it's quite different. You have to customize it according to the patient, because you don't need to starve the body from nutrients. You have to have a good nutrients. They have to take a good amount of all the nutrient. You know, for female, maybe a little bit different than male, but you have to do it in moderation, and they have to keep eating. Otherwise, they're going to lose a lot of their muscles, and we have a weaker, more body that's prone to more problems and diseases on being healthy, as you would accept if you want to use these medications to lose fat and be a healthy person of yourself.
Yes, doctor, as you said, eating less makes some people stress out a lot in life, right?
Yes.
And as we all know, we've studied, 60% of the brain is contained of fat, so we have to eat our fats consistently to also feed our brains and minds.
Obviously, there's a good fat at the end of the day. There's a bad fat. You know, a lot of things now we say that, you know, you go back to more butter, as well as there's avocado fat. There's a lot of good fats that you can take. At the end of the day, you have to be moderate in everything, and you have to take all the nutrients. What I do believe, the more healthier, you know, food that you take, maybe at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much calories you take, because they're going to be fulfilling and good. And if you exercise and you be very religious about your exercise, and I think at the end of the day, you're going to be a healthier version, because one research recently showed that if you are, for example, overweight or obese person and you're a functional person, you have less diseases than a person who are less weight than you, who are non-functional. They don't move, they're sedentary, because their endurance as well as their capability of doing exercises and the heart compliance to exercise is better. So you have to take things sort of in perspective and see one case accordingly how they function.
Definitely, definitely, Dr. Amna. You know, when I've been to China in 2008, when you are really, you have a massive body, you're considered a wealthy person and somebody that's really comfortable in life.
Yes.
So we'd
that's the same in India as well.
Yes.
The concept, yeah. But I think a lot of people now, they realize because they start to have diabetes and other problems. So I think this concept is sort of changing.
Yes, you have to give and take with everything. So
exactly.
Thank you so much for giving us your insightful experience here on Good Morning Kuwait, Doctor.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me here.
Such a pleasure. So dear viewers, would all like to thank Dr. Amna Shaghouli, an MD, FRCPC consultant, endocrinologist here at Kuwait. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Have a good day.
So, dear viewers, now we shall take a look at another report where food-borne viruses, as the name suggests, viruses are those transmitted through the consumption of food and beverages. They are typically highly resistant to environmental factors such as low pH or acidity and heat. This makes them highly persistent, so they can remain ineffective for over a month in food and water. The contamination of foodstuff with pathogenic viruses is often caused by poor hygienic practices in the production line or contact of the food with animal waste or sewage. For more information about this stuff, let's us watch this following report together.